Intro, please. Was that video the intro?
Intro. You are watching the Pan African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.
After centuries of misguidance caused by slavery, colonization, lack of awareness of our history, and institutional disinformation, a new Africa is on the move, determined and getting organized. Afrika tuko pamoja. Welcome to the United Kingdoms of Great Africa. The United Kingdoms of Great Africa is the credo of the alliance movement of all African intelligences around a common ideal: the unity and development of a strong, conquering, and completely dedogmatized Africa through the channel of a strong organization called the Africa We Want Global. You are an African, Afro-descendant, researcher, historian, scientist, or simply an NGO. You want to be part of this great historical march towards the total freedom of an uninhibited Africa? Visit our website www.africawewantglobal.org. Register and discover the range of our platforms for change. AfricaWeWantGlobal.org. Join the kingdom, be part of it. An initiative of Dr. Susan Tata.
Thank you for all of you that are connecting. Most of you are already signing, and by the time we're still getting ready to welcome you, you're already 50 watching. I mean, this is incredible. This is how much awakened and how much conscious and how much we are hungry to liberate ourselves and to build the Africa that we want to see and the Africa that we want. Thank you so very much. Yesterday we had a very warm conversation, and today we already knew that we were going to have Professor Bayyinah Bello, Mama Haiti, here, and she's sitting right here to educate us on the role and the contributions of Africa's women in the liberation and the freedom of Africa. We all do know that we're still living in a system that is how do we want to call it? The West, they call it patriarchy or something like that. So we want to get into all these details where we like that before. Why do we only hear about the United Kingdoms of Africa? What about the queendoms? Yeah. And much literature is, or less literature, I think Prof would correct me on that, has been written about the role of the African woman. And today we see and we know that the face of poverty is a black face, as it's been communicated. But that black face is the face of a woman. And so there's a lot that we can talk about our liberation. We can talk about the freedom movements. We can talk about the need for us to build the Africa that we want. But there's still some traditions and still some setups where we refer to as, no, this is for the man, this is for the woman, this is for the girl child, this is for the boy child. But we see that a lot of marriages, a lot of relationships, a lot of decisions that have been made are actually at the disadvantage of the girl child or the woman, starting from yeah. And so we want to find out, want to educate ourselves. How can we shift this paradigm? How can we actually get our women to rise up and take their roles as warriors in the liberation? I mean, someone said, I think it was Professor Jim says, no, no, we're not warriors. We're peace-loving people. Of course, peace-loving getting that kind of problems that we've been having of late, buffering, cuttings and stuff. But we're already used to that, isn't it? We're used to that. I mean, the more we get louder, the more, you know, they even reduce our exposure. Tonight we would have been using our other studio, but it wasn't possible because we couldn't connect to the other platform. So we are all aware on the Pan-African Daily TV that we are at war. We're at war with all the systems that are put to silence our freedom or to limit us or to refrain us. But do you think that is enough? I usually say, and I know Mama Bello would confirm with me, it's already too late. They would have done it, and you should have done it, right? So we are not here to think or to negotiate or to justify or to feel victimized. We are here to just do what we think is right for ourselves and even for humanity as a whole. So thank you, Mom. Greetings, Professor Bayyinah Bello, the Queen of Haiti, Queen Mother, sister, daughter of the land, and our power woman. You know, we talked about woman power today. It's not just the kind of woman that people looking like, oh, she's a strong woman. And so, no, we are scared. Today, we say if you want to marry a woman, if she's not strong enough, fearless warrior, consider that. Consider yourself. So thank you, Mom. Today, we want to get and sit down and relax, and you tell us the role, and you know you have been playing that role. You've been sitting on that thousands of those ancestors that women, be them the Harriet Tubman or all the others that we know in this revolution. What is the status quo of the African woman if we look today? And what should we really focus on? Where should the woman of today pull their strength when we look at the manly, the patriarchy system on the system worldwide, even in our traditional setup? What is it that you think women can look back and say, no, I'm going to pull this to the end because it's my responsibility, it's my contribution to liberate my people and myself?
Greetings to everyone. Alafia, Sanu, Jumbo, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
Wherever you are, Lone, respect. We are happy to be with you one more time to share whatever we have that can help us, help each one of us build ourselves. Without a firm and confirmed knowledge of self, it's difficult to be anything. Most men don't know how to be men. They think it's punching or having 10 women. That's what makes them, that's what values them. That is not. And so they're suffering from a lack of knowledge of self. A lot of women do not know who they are because they're suffering of lack of knowledge of self. How do we build knowledge of self? Knowledge of self is built, first of all, by taking the time to think. We are in societies that says 8 o'clock, you gotta run, 9 o'clock, you gotta run, 10 o'clock, you gotta run, you gotta zoom here, you gotta zap there, and you have no time to think. You may be doing a million things, and in fact, you're doing absolutely nothing. Because the number one thing any thinking person should know is that life, the number one element to life, is breath. And if you can't take the time to breathe, you're not living. You're just jumping from spot to spot. Someone is controlling you. You're not controlling yourself. If every time you turn the TV or the radio and you hear, oh, buy this book, buy this blah, this drink, this, that, and you dash out, empty your pocket, you're not living. You're under remote control. So if you want to regain yourself, before you can be part of anything, and certainly not a revolution, before you can be part of anything, you got to take the time to breathe. You got to take the time to know yourself. And to know yourself, you must know those who came before you. You mentioned young girls a little while ago, and immediately came to mind Princess Améthyste in Haiti, in the north. Her mom put her to school at the nuns' boarding school. She was being raised as a good Christian. She was there since she was 9. By the time she's 16, no, 14, she was already into voodoo. And she started training other girls in the boarding school, in the nuns' boarding school, how to use the principles of voodoo. And when she turned 16, she had over the nuns did everything. The nuns noticed that the girls at night were sneaking out and learning the dances and learning the songs and doing things. So the nuns would give them all kind of tasks to tire everybody out. Nothing. 1 a.m. in the morning, they sneak out, they go do their thing. At 2:30, they sneak back into their beds. The nun would punish them, do everything. Nothing stopped them. And at one point, the girls dressed up in voodoo outfit, got on their horses, stood up at the front of the boarding school, sang a voodoo song, and tell the nuns, we're going to join the revolution and create our country. They were between 18 and 14, and the leader was 16 years old. So we have to, when we don't know that 14-year-olds took positions into revolution, when we don't know 10-year-olds fight for different situations, in different situations, 10-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls were fighting. When we don't know that, we are comfortable with the thought that, say, well, I'm a woman, I'm 70 now, I have to rest, I have to blah, 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 blah. Anytime I would tend to feel like maybe I'm tired or something, I remember Ya Sentewa, who was 70 plus, mounted an army and whipped British butts for quite a while before she lost. So I said, what you doing, girl? You're just doing writing. Get up, go get the work done. So that's what can help, by knowing what other women did before you. When you don't know what happened, and that's why they work so hard and spend lots of money for you not to know your past. Because if you don't know your past, you can't figure out your present, and you cannot design your future, because it's all together. If the past is a mingle stuff, present is confused, there is no future determination. Once you're clear on the past, you will understand the present, then you can track the right road for the future. So, and it's good we have to understand both men and women. In a society where men are not educated properly, they could know a lot of things, but if they're not properly educated, if women are not properly educated, which means an education that is based on your own self.
Yes.
If you have no knowledge, no appreciation of grandma. Recently, somebody offered me to participate in a film. And I was saying, film, I don't see myself as actress and blah, blah. And the young lady who was talking to me, she said, but your grandmother was an actress. I saw her in such and such film. I said, that's right. And then she brought all of that back to me. I remember how grandma, after losing her third husband, she assembled all her granddaughters to tell us, men, they always die on you. A woman must have a profession. We must have she was, 70 something when she decided she should have a profession. And sure enough, she talked about this for quite a while. She would accompany some of us to the university. She would chaperone us to university, to this or to that. But she was always thinking she wants to have a profession. Well, one day, a filmmaker came, wanted my cousin to play in his film. beautiful cousin. But the cousin was very shy. And when they asked her to read, she would, "Dah, dah, dah, dah." And grandma would take the text and say, "No, you have to say it like this. You have to say it like that." In the end, they said, "Okay, we'll have the grandmother." And she starred in the biggest Haitian film of the most famous novel, Haitian novel, Gouverneur de la Rosée, Masters of the Dew. It's my grandmother who plays the mother of the main person, Manuel. So anyway, all of this to say, just a little, something that when it first said to me was like impossible. And then when I remember, well, grandma did it. Then my aunt Suzelle did also. And this one, my sister is in acting. My grandson is in acting. What's your problem, Bayyinah? Why would you think you can't do it?
Yes.
So, see, that's how knowing what's going on in your family, in your nation, what has happened, it helps you to take better decisions today. So that's what our young people need to have in front of them more. We do need to write books. We do need to teach, but more importantly, they are on videos. They are on YouTube. They are on television. We need to put our stories all these different places so that our children will learn without making an effort, learn while being entertained. See? Why do we know so much about British history? Some of us have never read a book on British or German or French. But you have tons of stories, films, songs, all kinds of things that teaches you. And no information is neutral. It all comes with a clear intention to make you love so-and-so and hate so-and-so. Anything you look at is building, creating that in you. So, when we look at Haiti's history and we see he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that, they did this, he did that. So what? Okay, was Dessalines married? Sure, he was married. What's the name of his wife? I don't find it in the manuals of history that I studied. So you have to go look, search. Was Christophe married? Yes. Oh, by the way, speaking of King Henry of Haiti, on February 7th, in London, they put a plaque for Queen Marie-Louise of Haiti because on a house where she lived after the death of the king, she went to England. So she stayed in London for a while, then she moved to different places, and ultimately she didn't like England, moved to different places in Europe, and ultimately stayed in Italy, settled in Italy at Pise. So that whole part of that, that's more than 30 years of her history. Most Haitians don't know. It's not in our books. After they, the story stopped when they say the king died. That's it. And I guess the rest of the family just disappeared. That's not the way to teach people. She spent 30 years traveling, fighting, and in the end, she left a will, living things to different cousins, nephews, people that she had known in Haiti. She didn't forget all the people that she knew. She hoped that this person that she left for people who served her also while she was living in Europe. So it showed a woman with a lot of kindness, a lot of intelligence, but most of us don't know very much about her at all. And it's purposeful. You take somebody like Empress Félicité, the first empress of Haiti, because Haiti has had two empresses. The first one is Dessalines' wife. When Dessalines became an emperor, what do you think his wife became? What? Empress cleaning woman? Because She's not part of the, they don't say nothing. He became an emperor. Well, she became an empress, Empress Felicity. And one of the most fascinating things about this woman, she marries a military guy. When he asked her to marry him, she said no. First answer was no, because marriage has a way of derailing women from their mission.
Absolute.
She refused. But he said, but no, if you marry me, you will have more this, you will have more that, you'll be able to do this, you'll be able to do that, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, she says, I will consider it if you agree to sign my conditions. He said, yeah, sure. What are your conditions? Number one, you have children with these other women. I want you to collect all these children, take them to the notary public, and legally recognize them. Dessalines said, oh, not a problem. Number two, you must give to the mothers the means to raise the children properly. There is no law that asks that. This is this woman coming from her heart. Dessalines said, okay, I'll take from what I was going to give you and give the others. She says, all right, fine. These children will be you and I tomorrow. Okay. Number three, if you become enemy to someone, it means I do not have to be enemy to somebody just because you are no longer friend with someone. He said, what do you mean? You don't understand? I'm, running a war here, blah, blah, blah. Felicite said, both in military and politics, there are lots of lies and untruth. So if you lose friendship with someone and I remain friends with that person, I might discover where the truth lies. So if in a home there are two heads, if one makes a mistake, the other one can correct. But if there's only one head, when that one makes a mistake, the whole house could crumble. Dessalines said, that's very good thinking. I like your argument. I agree. Okay, fine. I'll sign. So she wrote the 4 conditions and Dessalines signed. And that is the base upon which they agreed to marry. So the lesson for us here's a woman. She's 10 years older than him, by the way. This young man loves her, wants to marry her, but she doesn't want to be married under any old condition or no conditions. She wants to be clear. What are we going to do together? How are we going to live together? Here is what my conditions are. If you can do this, then I will do that. You see, marriage is a contract. It's not about, oh, I'm madly in love, so no. You may not choose to marry the person you love. If you have your mission, your purpose, you may choose to marry someone who can help you go forward with your mission. So if you've never considered it, if never heard that any women did this, so she was clear on what she wanted to do. Her life is about justice, education, and health. Anything else, she's not involved. She never holds a weapon, even though Dessalines is a military man and has weapons. In fact, when they created the new capital after independence, she put her house in one street and Dessalines' house in a different street because she felt he is a military man. He must defend the freedom that he has just brought about. So his house has to be an arsenal. But she does not have to live in the middle of all these weapons because she is about education, health, justice. So in her house, books, leaves, plants to heal, and she always stands on the side of justice. Even if Dessalines, her husband, would say something that is not correct, or that is maybe unjust, well, she will stand up and say, Majesty, our Constitution, Article such and such says. And Dessalines will correct what he had said previously. So we see that she always stood for justice wherever she went. So another woman, another great woman is Marie-Jeanne, who's not mentioned in our manuals. Children don't know nothing about her, and this woman assured the security of the generals. She was at the head of a female troop, exclusively female, no men at all in her troops. Over 1,000 women were in Marie-Jeanne's troop. They assured the security of high officials, high military officials. They did a lot of work, and since Dessalines had decided that he would not buy weapons during the war, can you imagine? You're running a war and you have as a decision not buy weapons. And people say, but how come? Says, well, whoever is going to be fighting against us, they're going to bring enough weapons here. Whatever they bring is for the two of us. We'll have to figure out how to get our share. And that's what he did. He said, because if we go buy from the cousins of those we're fighting, the cousins will sell us the cheapest, the least quality for the highest money. Number one. Number two, the cousin will always tell the cousin on the battlefield how many we have. So we could never win a war if the enemy knows what kind of weapon we have, worse weapon, bad quality, and then the enemy knows exactly how many we have. No, we don't buy. We take our share. And that was these women, that was their job. Whenever they knew there was 2,000 of such and such weapons, such and such place, find out a way to get 500, 600 of them, or 1,000. So these are thinking leaders. Dessalines is a thinking leader, but then he was around him, he had thinking people. So when he wanted something done, they were able to make it a reality. All the way to freedom, Dessalines bought no weapons. You have to do it. So we look at a woman like Yaa Sentewa of Ghana. Now, Ghana is occupied by British. And the British, not satisfied to be stealing gold, stealing all the wealth of Ghana, but disrespecting the people, disrespecting everything that is important to them. And in particular, one time, there is a stool. That stool is considered more important than the king himself. The stool has his own throne to sit on. So as they were in a procession, they came with the stool, and this British colonel decided to sit on it. Nobody ever sit on this stool. So he decided to sit on it, and who knows what other disrespectful gesture he might have done. So anyway, Yaa Sentewa decided that that was the drop of water that was not acceptable. So she walked out of that reception, and shortly thereafter, organized people started training to learn how to shoot all the rifles and weapons that the British had brought into the country, organized an army, and started fighting. Woman was over 70 years old when she was holding a weapon for the first time in her life. That kind of weapon, anyway. So these are lessons for us. We must not study them and recite them, but we must study our history so we can understand the principles behind it so we can apply the principles in our own lives. So whenever we're doing something, when we think back on someone who has, then it gives us ideas as to how to run our present, how to handle our present. Another woman that comes to mind is Cleopatra. They talk a lot about Cleopatra, but one of the key things they don't tell you about Cleopatra of Egypt, Cleopatra was 16 years old when Julius Caesar from Rome invaded her country. First, she took the head of the army. They lost. She went into hiding. Caesar put a price on her head. Dead or alive, if they bring her head, he'll give you this much money. And went about to dismantle Egyptian culture. Forbidden to speak the language, forbidden to practice any religious, spiritual practices that Egypt has. Close down all the temples, everything to crush the culture. And at some point, Cleopatra had one of her servants wrap her in a carpet and take her to Caesar and unroll that carpet. And when she rolled out of the carpet, she says, I heard you put a price on my head. Give me the money and then you can kill me. He was so shocked. How could somebody, I'm looking for her all over, and here she comes, tell me to pay her, and then I can cut her head. Well, they don't tell us, they often don't give us these fine little details that makes us understand. Here's a 16-year-old girl with a 50-year-old man who's warred on people and slaughtered people all his life. And that girl, unafraid, went and faced up to this guy who has put a price on her head. Ultimately, Cleopatra maneuvers things and Caesar becomes her husband. And since he had declared the law that no rituals, no Egyptian rituals could be practiced, she demanded that her marriage be in the Egyptian language, which was declared forbidden, nobody could speak it, in an Egyptian ceremony, in an Egyptian temple. So everything he had placed, he had to undo if he wanted to marry her. That's what it is when you have purpose, when you know what you've come on this earth to do. You're not afraid of anything when you are in your purpose. You're walking your road. No matter what comes in front of you, you can face up. The strength is inside. But if your thoughts are foreign to yourself, it'd be difficult to touch the strength that you do have, the powers that are dormant in you. They will continue to sleep even when you are in danger because you've not established proper ways of communication between your inner self and your outer self. That's why it's important for us to learn our own languages as much as we can, to eat our own foods, the foods that grandma and great grandma used to eat. Important. To be distrustful of foreign and new things that we don't really know what they are. We must question everything in order to make better choices for our health, for our wealth, and to develop our collective power. It's a must. I suppose that Daily African TV has perhaps some technical problems, and I will do my best to stay on the subject and continue to share as much as I can.
Go
I'm
ahead,
glad to see Dr. Tata is present, so things are being worked out,
Yes.
and that's good. So we've seen so far, we've talked about Empress Felicite, we talked about Queen Marie Louise, we talked about Ya Asentewa of Ghana, we talked about Cleopatra of Egypt. So not just IT has known many great women, the world over, women have played roles, important roles for the nation. But the world over, that version, the narrative, the historical narrative puts us out. And they have a thing they call his story, history, that only talks about what the male did and hide what women did. And we have to correct that. You know, someone talks about, yeah, we need to have a book about women in history. No, yeah, we could have that too. But what we really need is that the whole narrative is properly written. It wasn't women on this side and men on that side. Marie Claire was Félicité Bonheur. Empress Félicité was married to Dessalines. So they talked, they shared. She taught him how to read and write French. They did a whole lot of things in common. So we cannot look at her story on one side, his story on the other side. Together, when they were writing the Imperial Constitution of 1805, Marie Claire was one of the constitutionalists. She participated in the writing of our first constitution. How can you ignore a woman like this? Marie-Jeanne, who runs a troop of over 1,000 female warriors. How can you say you didn't see them? I mean, if she had 10, maybe I could understand. If she had 50, maybe. But over 1,000 female warriors. King Henry had sent his boat to Dahomey to collect female warriors from Dahomey to ensure the security of Queen Marie Louise of Haiti. And we say, oh, there's never been any contact between Haiti and Africa. We have nothing to do with one another. That's a lie.
Yes, fat one.
Yes. And lots of newspapers and different things at the time, they'd always notice when the queen is out, because the warriors from Dahomey, they didn't change their outfit. They dressed up just the way they always were in Africa. And that's how they assured the security of the queen. So everybody would mention, oh, these women with big guns, with this, short skirts, blah, blah, blah. That's the way they were. And that's normal. And no one could pretend not to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we write a history and these women are not there? How? No? After the king transitions, the queen and her two daughters, her son, first of all, her youngest child, who was named after Dessalines, Jacques Victor, and Empress Félicité is his godmother. The queen is arrested with her two children, her two daughters. She spent over a year in house arrest. And during that year, correspondence is an educated woman. She writes to the president and try to convince him to let them go, blah, 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 blah. In the end, very intelligently, she sends to the president, she says, I have these 200 acres of land, such and such place. I think you're the only person who could properly take care of it for me. And she sent all the documents for that land, and the president sent them their passports. And that's how she left Haiti and went to England. visited many European countries, and then settled in Italy. Oh, another very interesting thing we should know about this couple, King Henry had a bank in England, and he opened 3 bank accounts. One is the citizen Christophe Henry's account. The second is General Christophe Henry's account. And the third is King Henry's account. And he said to his family, and the bank knew, if the king's account is for, if there's a government in Haiti doing serious things for the people, then they can inherit the money there. The general account is for the army of Haiti. And the citizen's account is for his family. So when his wife went to England to the bank to collect her money, the bank wanted her to take all 3. She said, no. My husband always said, only the citizen's account is for the family. So give me that money. She took that money and went out with her business, bought a castle in Pise, and lived with her children. They went many times to Rome to visit. They went to the theater. They went to different places. And newspapers in Italy often mention the Black Queen and her 2 princesses, Black princesses. You know, but we don't know about them. You know? So those are the things we need to correct. We have to see there's a whole pattern, a whole system that chooses what they want you to know and what they don't want you to know. See, I've never read a book that has as advertisement, oh, this book, 20 million people read it, 50 million people. I know I don't need it. Because if they're pushing that book on millions of people, there is nothing in it for me to grow. But I will look for a book. I'll do anything. I'll fly to a different country to go find a little book that has, a book like The Teachings of Tao Tao. I spent years looking for a copy of that book. Important information. That's what we want, not just what they're pumping onto everybody.
Mm-hmm. Bestseller.
The same is true with fashion. If you're letting somebody determine how you're going to dress, you're never going to have a dime in your pocketbook. Because they always, after Tata has this outfit, next month Bayyinah comes with this one, and then Jane come with this one, and we're always going to have something to get your money out of your pocket.
Correct.
No, you decide how you want to dress. What's the best thing for you? And then stick to it. I have my oldest dress is 47 years old. It was made for me in Nigeria way back then. And it's still there. And it's kind of tight now, but it fits. And I'm very proud of myself when I wear my 20-year-old clothes, my 30-year-old clothes. It means I know how to take care of my things. And it means that I did purchase quality stuff. Whereas today, whenever I have to purchase something, within 4 times you wash it and there's nothing anymore. You gotta be careful. That way you're always gonna be buying.
Mama Bello, I just don't feel like even interrupting, like even want to, because I'm just a part of the audience and I want to digest every single thing. I enjoy I don't want to be a host when you're here because You are the, yeah, of course. That's why sometimes I went behind. There wasn't any really technical issue, but I just sit and give the whole screen your smile, your beauty, your intelligence, your softness, your motherliness, your everything is just the emblem. I, I mean, I hate when I begin to speak like this and people think like I want to put you a bestseller, like we're saying, like but there's just no way. I looked around. We've been in this woman thing, and the question is always we need this teaching. Our boys, our men also are looking up to us. Those that now are getting conscious and say we need the teachings on how to treat ourselves and even our queens. We need to know the essence of being a man in this, to know how to behave. But another thing, Prof, that I want us to know, what is it that we are not paying attention to ourselves as women? I'm just saying there's a queen that is out there looking for warriors, not just warriors, people that are working for the continent like us, like you, like me, like the others. And then she asked me for recommendations. And I said, oh, the first person that you have to put on that list, if it's something that I would like to recommend, is Professor Bayyinah Bello. He said, who is Professor Bayyinah Bello? I said, if you ask who she is, then you're not looking for the warriors. Right. So we don't pay attention to us. I mean, I'm saying on women. What is the issue about? If we look at the presidents and their women, you're giving a very incredible stories. 54 presidents, we're only going to hear about the men. So it's like they just lost. Even if we look at the warriors in the past, nothing is written about them, about the wife of Patrice Lumumba, about the wife of Thomas Sankara, about the wife even of Dr. Marcus Garvey, about this. We never heard Kwame Nkrumah, nothing. Were they just single men? I mean, even just the fact that the women were there, I mean, to take care of those warriors. What is it that was so missing, even in the history that we, our own, wrote about? What are we not paying attention?
Well, as we said, there's an entire system put in place for that to happen. If you don't hear much about something, if you don't hear anything about it, you're not going to question it. Okay. Many times when I'm speaking, for example, about Suzanne Simon Louverture, people say, "Who's that?" It was that his sister? Was the sister of Toussaint Louverture? No, that's his wife. And there again, there is so much correspondence between those two, showing, expressing the appreciation, the love that they have for each other, but also what they want to accomplish together. But it's not part of, or they have, in French, they have an expression that is little story. It's not history. History is all about what general did what, when, how. But when you get into who is their wife, what was their relationship with their wife, with their children, how was the family structured, that's not history. But
Yes.
if the family isn't strong, the nation cannot be.
No way.
If you don't have strong, because the family is the brick with which you're going to build the nation. So very often, a lot of us make the mistake sometimes. We're concentrating on our mission, and then we're overlooking the family. And very often, we overlook the family and we overlook ourselves. Because it is within the family structure that each individual is cared for. You see, if I have a husband and the husband, let's take a couple like Winnie Mandela. If Nelson didn't have Winnie as a wife, do you think we would even remember there was this man locked up for 29 years?
No way.
Who kept Nelson alive in the media,
Of course.
in the back, everywhere, being arrested left and right, doing a Winnie? And she held on. When Nelson first came out of jail, my first reaction was disappointment because he
Sure.
came out in a double-breasted British suit. Whereas I remembered clearly, one of the first time he was arrested was for wearing an African traditional outfit. So to me, if you're coming out after 29 years, then you must be dressed in that outfit that they arrested you for.
Mm.
But to me, that was the sign of submission, that he was dressed in this double-breasted British, totally British thing. And he became in contradiction to his wife, who was in a fabulous boo-boo with a huge tie. Okay. So it was like, hey, they're not a couple anymore. So if we know how to read, we have to understand every symbolism, everything that we do must have a reason.
Mm.
You don't dress for, I'm pretty. No, you dress is you sending a message.
Mm.
You dress to encourage another one to do certain things or be a certain way. So when we are leaders, everything we do has importance. I remember the first time I saw Haitian president being his security being assured by 4 white, blue-eyed men, foreigners. And I said, we're losing our independence. Because if you're the president of Haiti and this is, I'm not saying you couldn't have them. They could be, everywhere. But right there standing in front of the camera, in front of everybody, everyone noticing, why is it that it has to be 4 white, blue-eyed men protecting the president? And there was no threat to his life, except from these four people and whatever they represented. Actually, they were, in fact, when he did get into trouble, who kidnapped him from the palace and took him away? Those people who were supposed to be protecting you. So we have to be attentive. Everything matters. And if you want to be you must create time for silence and thinking and reflecting and pondering and darkness. See all that light? Not very good for you. What they do with chicken. A natural chicken running in the yard will take about 42 weeks, I believe, I don't remember exactly, but about 42, 46 weeks to become an adult. So what they do with those white feathered chicken, they keep them in cages and they keep lights on 24/7. So because the light is always there, the chicken is always nervous and it doesn't go to sleep at sundown, which is another lie because the sun doesn't go down. But when the light of the sun goes out, chicken and a lot of natural life goes to sleep. And when the light of the sun returns, they rise again. Mm-hmm. They do exactly the same thing to us. We have television, laptops, blah, 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 some light somewhere. If you're trying to be in a dark room, that's the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm. You're even scared.
You need the dark room for regaining your serenity, your calm. Mm-hmm. You need darkness to be able to create new ideas. Darkness is the best space to be in. So take care of your breath. Make sure you drink enough water. Yeah, exercise. Huh? I'll follow you, my sister.
I share.
Yes, ma'am. Right. So make sure you take care of that body. You're not going to get another one. And personally, I don't want plastic parts here and there in my body. I want to go with everything the Creator gave me.
I share.
So I have to take care of it. I must exercise, meditate, take the time, no matter what. If the day look like your agenda, there's a 10 o'clock and an 11 o'clock. Mm-mm. You call for 12 o'clock? Sorry, not available. Read every day. It's good for your eyes to read, even if it's a half a page, but read. Whatever you don't do, you lose the ability to do. Many people who've gone through high school, finished high school, and then got jobs where there was never any reading involved, and they didn't read personally. One day you ask them to read something, they can't. It's gone. It's like languages. If you don't use it, it's gone. So a lot of us can say, I used to speak when I lived in such place, I spoke fluent this, fluent that. But once I moved to a couple of years, I experienced that with French. After coming from France, 2 years, I was in the United States and struggling to learn to speak English properly. And then one day, friends called and said, I would like for you to come and translate. Sure, I went. When they spoke English, when they spoke French, I could tell in English easily. When they spoke English, I was wasn't coming out. All my life I spoke the language. But 2 years without using it at all, it was gone. So when I realized that, I went back reading, listening to music, doing different activities in that language in order to maintain it. Everything has to be taken care of, maintained. Maintenance is key. So please take care of you. Even if you have 9 children, even if you have 18 children. My Aunt Suzelle had 17 children. My Aunt Elvire had 12 children. But Tante Elvire was the most organized person. She used to line up her girls. She had 6 girls. She combed the hair of the first 2 and then have the first 2 comb the hair of the next 2 and then comb the hair of the next 2. She was well organized. And so in spite of having 12 children, this is a woman who sat down and read every day. She wasn't forever running like a chicken without a head. So put time for yourself in your life. Structure your life. Discipline will bring courage. If you forever running, when you are faced with anything, you'll just be fearful. And it's the fear that will keep you from seeing the solution that's right in front of your head, right in front of your eyes. So we have to look. We have so much. We have women. Here is a very close example. In the 80s, Saddam Hussein was the head of state in Iraq. So the army of Iraq invaded Kuwait. Kuwait is a country women are not allowed to drive. Even if you have a license, even if you know how to drive, you can't drive because you're a woman. You cannot go anywhere without some man, chaperone, cousin, brother, somebody. Women are not allowed to practice a lot of professions like engineer, architect, whole bunch of profession is exclusively for male. They have all these restrictions. And so when the country was invaded, lots of women went out, learned how to fight, learned how to do whatever. They were driving, they did whatever to defend the nation. And we must also say that the emir of Kuwait, the head of state, left the country and went to wait securely in the United States while the people fought for themselves.
Mhm.
He put himself out of the way. Okay. Ultimately, Kuwait won. So the emir came back. And the first law, the first decree that he declared, every woman who had been raped or suspected of being pregnant from a rape or anything like that, these women would be hung. These people hang publicly hundreds of women for months.
Mm.
New York Times never put that on front page. None of the big newspapers and major medias talked about that. If they had hung one woman in Haiti, it would be the front page of all papers for weeks. That's the reality of the world we live in. We have to educate ourselves, and we must take the right decisions to protect our lives, to protect our families. And it is by building strong families that we will build strong nations.
Correct.
And with strong nations coming together can build the Africa we want.
Mhm.
The Africa we want cannot have more than half of the population out. We need everyone. And if you look at today, all the revolutionary activities that goes on here and there in different parts of Africa, look well, you will see many young and many women are joining in to defend the nation, prepare themselves to defend. So women are just as willing, but they must receive the right information so they feel comfortable in
Correct.
stepping into the roles.
Mm. A lot more sweet stories and very motivating. Thursday, like we said, is gonna be topics for what we call the baobab. The baobab, or we call it May, is women. And you see, the institutions are putting women and development, women and entrepreneurship, women and this, but no institution is talking about women and I mean, knowing who they are, what they should do, what kind of information they need to evolve and to empower themselves. We have a lot of institutions. Oh, no, we need to empower our women. I mean, always making women feel the vulnerable that they need to help. And I like one statement that Professor Pierre Olumumba said. He said, "Women don't need empowerment. We could only pull back and recognize and be grateful and be thankful for the strength that they have. They don't need any empowerment. Probably we do need it." And he made it in Tübingen at the festival that I organized in 2019. It was so powerful, and a lot of women that actually were for that. Yes, we were for. They presented all their projects. I'm doing women and empowerment. I'm doing women and and at the end of the day, he was asked to give, and he just said, "All this that you've been doing, you just don't know who you are. You don't need anything from anybody. No validation, because you already had it long time ago. We just need to recognize and to appreciate you." What do you think about that, Prof? I think that's powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. Imagine we receive a tiny little sperm from the man, a little spot thing that you can hardly see it on a microscope. And 9 months later, we gave a gorgeous, strong baby. And 50 years later, we have this 6 foot tall, huge man who can, like my children tend to do with me, pick me up, you know, rock me. So my boys tend to do that. So, but I often tell them, don't you mess with me. I peed you into this world. So we have to understand, if we can take a drop of blood and turn it into a human being, and then we take that little baby and turn it into this handsome, good looking, smart, intelligent female or male, what more power do you want? We're the one who will take leaves, whatever we find there, or lizard, ants, whatever. When it comes time to feed the family, anything we could put under our hands, we'll turn it into tasty food. Very often. And that's one of the only things that when I raised my children, I told them, everybody has this open. You have to put things in it all the time. So eating is not a woman's thing. Everything that is alive must eat. So every human being must know how to cook. So if we do not raise our children knowing the power that is in them, knowing that they can, cooking doesn't make you female or male. It's a necessity for everybody. So if I cook today, tomorrow somebody else cook, the next day someone else cook. And I'm looking at my daughter, she did even better than me. Her children are barely 10. And everybody knows how to cook, wash, clean, do everything to maintain self. On top of all the other things, going to school, doing sports, running, swimming, But that's life. Life demands that you take care of a lot of things continuously. So empowerment cannot be given, first of all. I cannot empower you. I can give you some steps. I can give you some information that you could use to empower yourself. If you are very fearful, that means you're nervous, for example. I could make some tea for you to help you calm yourself, or teach you how to make exercises to help yourself be more at ease within yourself. But I cannot make the fear go away if you won't do anything for it. So empowerment, just like freedom, can never be given.
Correct.
You have to take it. Learn, practice, try, fail, start again, fall, get up again. That's how you become. In fact, on Independence Day, Dessalines gave us this sentence. He says, just like a child has to crawl until it gets rid of certain things in the body that enables him to walk. And then when the muscles are strong enough, you run. Well, a country has to do the same thing. Don't use canes or anything to stand up. If you are in the crawling stage, go ahead and crawl. Crawl knowing that if you practice enough crawling, you will reach the walking stage. And it's true. for individuals as well as nations. Actually, the principles are the same. If you want to be free, don't sit down and wait for somebody to free you. Start using everything you've got, heart and mind, to figure it out. You want to be empowered? Start doing. That's the only way. You do, you make mistakes, you fall, you pick up again, you continue until you have the power you want. But the best power is the collective power. When
Yes.
the people stand up together, no one. See, if we don't chicken out or weaken, once you stand up, a good example here is Al-Bahia in Ethiopia. After occupying Egypt, what's his name again? Alexander the Greek decided to add Ethiopia to his conquest. So he drove to the frontier of Ethiopia and Egypt, and there he found 1,000 women, an army of 1,000 women, each sitting on an elephant. And he looked, and at first he's just shocked. Women fighters. What is this? That's nonsense. Okay, take position, get his army up. And he starts to come with his horses, and the women stayed on their elephant as if they were statues. They didn't blink an eye. So he stopped his army. Move back again. Look at them again. Study. Do a second attempt. Stop his army. In the end, he said, I don't need Ethiopia. It's worthless. So he turned his back. So what is the principle here? You see how these women fought him without raising a finger, saying, we are so cool, and then come on, baby, we're waiting for you. Yeah, bring us some food. We feel like eating some folks today. Come. Because if somebody's attacking you and you are not moving, they get scared. They get scared. And that's what, that's one of the strategies. A lot of military strategists talk about the biggest victory is the battle that is not fought. If you can take a chance that scares the other one before the first, good, then hey, you've won the war and you've lost nothing. Okay? All of this for us to remember. Empowerment, we have to individually work at it, but the more powerful power is the collective power. When the nation is powerful. Yeah. Looking at what's going on in Mali, for example, right now, we look at this and we say, yes, that's good to say, all right, you could go. You've done enough crime here. Go about your business. But we must remember, these people work in cliques. Whatever you see France doing, don't worry. British is doing it too.
Sure.
Undercover. US is there too. So actually, we need to always deal with them as one. If you take one, the other one pretends to be their cousins. Remember what Desolene said? Don't buy from one cousin while you're fighting one cousin. So if you're serious, you have to take the whole block and say, okay, you guys, go ahead and go home. Let us deal with our business. Because whoever stays will be stabbing you in the back, guaranteed. So, as we look at the contribution of women around the world, ooh, we could not be talking about women in revolution and I have not mentioned St. Croix. St. Croix is a tiny little island in the Caribbean, and it was occupied by the Dutch. And the occupied by the Dutch. And at some point, 3 women organized the revolution. 3 women. And they won. And for nearly a year, the Dutch colonists couldn't do nothing in St. Croix. But after a year, they got helped by France, by England, by the US, and they came back to the island, arrested those women, and took them to jail in Dutchland, in Holland. No. But at first, the women won. Of course, the children of St. Croix never heard about these 3 women. In history books, absent. The same tactic is used all over the world. It's the same. Yeah. And to have an example of the system closer to us, when Bill Clinton was first elected president of the US, well, everyone knows his wife is the real powerhouse. So when he first was elected, she dressed in her pantsuits, had her little short haircut, and walked side by side with him. The system said, we're not gonna have this. We did her with her nice long flowing hair, must wear skirts, and walk about a step behind the president.
Bello, you are something. I never.
Yeah. It's a system. And in order for it to maintain itself, it has to have rules, regulations, forces to impose what it wants. Yeah. So no matter where, we have to look and be attentive what's going on around us. A woman at the head of any country is a very lonely place to be.
Yes.
If you're not properly trained, you'll find yourself doing all kinds of things you never thought you would. And you may find yourself feeling more powerless at the top of the country than when you were not. Because there's a whole system around you who want to impose a whole bunch of stuff to you.
Correct.
And if you don't have the right training, the right character, the right everything that is necessary, it's very difficult. Very difficult. So those things, these are not positions that we fall into.
Yep.
These are positions that you grow into. That's why traditionally they would train us for everything that we had to do. See, in many African societies, nations, they would have 40 or 30 or a certain number of young people who are being trained as potential kings, queens, queen mothers, whatever, the different roles. You don't just happen to be walking by and the king saw you and said, oh, I want this girl. And then you're queen. No. These are very difficult positions in life. And you have to be prepared for them in order to successfully carry out your mission there. So My goodness, I didn't look at the time at all. We have been sharing for over 90 minutes, for nearly 90 minutes.
Correct.
So
In
it was a tremendous pleasure being with you this afternoon. In my parting words, I want to wish to each and every one of you, each young girl, mid, middle-aged woman, elders, centenarians, whoever you are that is watching, all the boys, men, centenarians, I want you to go away with one thing. Being yourself is the most important thing you could do in your life. It's the greatest thing you could do for you and the most marvelous gift you can give to your nation. A person who is truly who he is, who understands his spiritual being as well as his physical being. Let me try to illustrate.
Mhm.
Haiti, we have a man that a lot of people know, Toussaint Louverture. If
Toussaint, yes.
you if you go into the meaning of his name, that's the last name he got. He went through a number of names. At first, he was Francois Dominique Breda, and Francois means things that belong to France and is
Mm.
attached to French culture.
Francois.
So he changed the name, and ultimately he chose Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint means the one who has the power of all saints. And l'ouverture means to open the way. So when we look at everything Toussaint did in his life, when we look at his various talents, like the fact that he spoke all the languages that were around, he spoke French, Spanish, English, Haitian, um, Fongbe, he spoke a lot of languages. So this man, when we look in Voodoo, we look at a spirit like Legba, we say, wow, it is as if Legba is the mold and Toussaint is the bread that came out of that mold. Because it has all the shapes and qualities of a Legba. And this is the man who opens the door for independence to happen. Next personality that came into Haiti's history, the males, are we looking now? Dessalines. When you analyze him, generally in many songs in Haiti, we call him Ogu. And Ogu is the principle of transformation.
Mhm.
So if you want to take an iron, a piece of iron, and turn it into a sword or turn it into a machete or a fork or a spoon, that's the Ogu power that will do that. Transform something into something else.
Mhm.
And this is this man that we view that is an Ogu personality. He is the one who transformed Haiti, who take us from slave colony Saint-Domingue to free, independent Haiti. So he brought in that major transformation. The same is true for you and I. If you can figure out the spirit that lives in you, and then you can harmonize your mission, your actions, your behavior with that spirit, then you will be a very powerful individual in your own life. But if you have no clue, see, the confusion is Let's say Dr. Tata and I are in the same organization. Tata is a Legba personality. I am an Ogu personality. We create the organization and we're fighting. I want to be head cookie. She wants to be head cookie because we don't understand each other. But if I was clear enough on who I was, I would understand Tata has to be the first head in this organization because she is the one who can open the way for things to happen. She has that quality. Now, after she traces the road, it will be my turn to direct things and do the transformation. And the next person who comes in IT is King Henry. He is an Ogu Shango. And Shango is the one who makes economy move. What is King Henry's going to do? Build all the citadel, the castles, all the great structures. He did that. He brought in our money, minted at home, gold and silver coins. We're the only ones who did this in the America. We didn't go to anybody to mint the Haitian money. We minted our gold and silver ourselves. Our streets were better lit. Many writers of that time talked about our street was much better lit than London or Paris under the rule of King Henry. So as we understand who we are, then we can be more comfortable with accomplishing our missions. And then there'll be lots of infighting for nothing. Because an Ogu cannot do the work of a Legba. Legba has to be the first one to open the way. So an Ogu would be stupid to be fighting with Legba. Let Legba do the work, and then your work will flow easily. That's why it's important for us to know ourselves in the deepest way.
This is power. This is the power, Professor Bayyinah. This is the power. Yes, to just know ourselves. The question is still, how do we, I just get like, if people are not conscious, how do you even make them to understand who they are? Or even you that wants to, you are not even conscious of who you are. You don't even know you're a Legba. You don't even know you're an Obu. How do we get that? Teaching,
the first
talking,
thing,
education.
Well, look, we can't use education because the whole system is rigged. We can talk about that as a way of coming into self. We have designed at Fondation Félicité, we have designed what we have a seminar, Learn to Know Yourself. And we have summarized it in several simple steps. Number one, you could be as unconscious as you want. If you train yourself to begin to question, you will begin to develop consciousness. That's step one. Question everything. Why am I dressed in pink today? Why did I choose to wear this particular necklace? Why, So when I start questioning Bayyinah and her behaviors, why do you not say this word and use that word? So I'm listening to Bayyinah, I'm questioning Bayyinah, I'm going to start to learn Bayyinah, who she is. And the process of questioning develop courage. If you never question anything in your life, you know the whole Bible by heart. Yeah, verse, you know the whole Quran. This verse, that verse. Fine. But what do you know? You know nothing. You know how to recite. But the first element to knowing is to question.
Absolutely.
Why does it say this? Why is it said that way? How come once you start doing that with self first? So, question will help you to build courage. Courage will enable you to speak according to your own convictions.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking and I say, well, Dr. So and so said, Dr. So and so said, the other doctor said, the question is, well, Bayyinah, what do you
What is
say?
it that you said? Correct.
You can tell me what everybody else is saying, but you haven't told me what you want to say, Bayyinah. See? So, question, take us to courage. Courage, give us the ability to speak our own convictions.
Mm.
And also give us the courage to be silent when you don't know. The courage to shut up. Yes. Okay. So you speak when you have something to say. You speak when you know. If someone comes up with a new concept, a new something, and you have no idea what it is, intelligent thing to do is to shut up and listen.
Yes.
Okay. So next, it will enable, once you start to express your own conviction or make the effort to be clear about your conviction, it will bring you to observation. You start to notice, this little bird comes on that tree almost every Thursday morning. Lizards cross my yard every afternoon. How come this is the blah, 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 blah. So you start noticing the moon. At one time when I was stunned by this, there was a big to do about um, what a uh, moon eclipse. The whole world was talking about it. They're saying, people can go blind. You have
Mm-hmm.
to stay in your house, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff. So here I was locked into my house, obeying to what I heard. I had no idea. And then I was observing myself. I decided to take a centimeter, take a measure tape,
Mm-hmm.
and measure my breast as the eclipse started. And when it peaked, I measured it again. And when it went out, I measured it again. Well, as the moon eclipse was growing, my breast increased by an inch and a half. So
Mm-hmm.
if I had not observed this for myself, I would not have understood when you read that the moon controls all the waters of the earth. So it's not just the rivers, the oceans, but the waters in us. We are 75-80% water. So every effect of the moon affects our bodies. But there I had something absolutely unquestionable because I measured myself and I knew what the eclipse did on my body. I don't know about turning people blind. If you looked at it, I did peek outside and nothing happened to me. So I don't know about that part. But I could say for certain that it affects your body. There's an expansion and it goes back to what it was after the eclipse is over. So observation. Then meditation. You must take the time. You don't have to go learn Hindu meditation or this, that. No, it's just a time. It's you and you. You could be having a conversation with yourself, or you could just not think anything and let whatever the world wants to send your way. Lay down, sit down, take whatever position is good for you, but be with you. If you're listening to the radio, you're not with you. It's outside coming in. If you're looking at TV, you're not with you. It's outside coming in. Everything has to be out, and it's just you and you. That's meditation. Once you've done question, courage, speaking, observing, meditating, that's when you're ready for action. If you've not gone through this, there'll be no action. And action is generally what you do in your own interest.
Mm-hmm.
And creation, the next step, is what you do in the interest of the collective.
Correct.
And you don't mix them up. This, I sell telephones. That's my business. I want to make money. That's why I do it. Over here, I train children or I coach football. That is something I
Mm-hmm.
do because I noticed that our community needed this, and I'm doing it for their benefit. That's it. So these are the things I do for me, and these are the things I do so we will grow together. And every time I go through all these steps, questioning, courage, speaking, observing, meditating, taking action, creating, I have 1 degree more of knowledge of self. If I have never questioned anything, I have no clue who I am. None whatsoever.
Yes.
Now, if you've never questioned anything, you're not building courage. What are you building? You're building cowardness. If you're not building speaking, the ability to speak according to your own conviction, you're into submission. You're just trying, every time you open your mouth, you're trying to say something somebody likes. If Dr. Tata asks me, what's your favorite color? Bayyinah, I say, oh, black and red, because I see she's wearing something that's black. There's black and red there. So that's what I'm going to say. Tomorrow, if she's dressed in yellow and asks me, what's my favorite color? It will be yellow.
Yellow.
You're forever trying to please the other with what you're saying. But what you're saying should be what you want to say, what you truly believe in. Okay? But if you've not questioned anything, you don't know. So then, no courage, you're into cowardice, submission, illusion instead of observation. You have illusion. You create things in your head and you think that's the way it is. But you do not observe your environment. Okay? And instead of action, you're always having a reaction to things. When people say this, you react. People say that, you react. People do this, you react. That's not an action. An example I like to share in class when talking about reaction, husband is forgot this is the anniversary. He forgot this is the anniversary, so he comes home from work and he got all dressed up. He's going out with friends or whatever. And you had been all day preparing special evening, blah, 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 because so you said, hey, look at the food. That's your favorite food, blah, blah, blah. He puts a spoon in his mouth. Ugh, this has too much pepper. He tastes the beans. This is too salty. He tastes the rice. Everything has a problem because he only knows he wants to get out to whatever he's going to do. Now, what do? You're going to get angry and you might yank that tablecloth off the table and smash all the food on the ground. That's a reaction, and that's stupid. And you're your own victim. One possibility, you taste the rice after him, say, oh my goodness, you're so right. I'm going to put it in the fridge. Oh, this has too much pepper. Let me put it in the fridge. Oh, that has too much salt. Let me put it in the fridge. Darling, I'm going to take you out to dinner. Or you come up with another. If nothing works and he has to go, he goes out tomorrow. You know what food you serve him? You serve the food you had cooked yesterday. And look how he's going to talk about how good it is. But if you had wasted your food because you did a reaction, instead of action. Action, you plan, you plot, you examine, and you determine. That's what an action is. So, we action. Then the next step is when you're living with submission, cowardice, and all of that. The next step is you want to be seen, but you don't necessarily have anything to say. You don't have anything to show you, but unless people are looking, I look at. That's one of the reasons. Unfortunately, I'm not very much attached to network and all this Rezo thing, because I see some people. It's like, what's your name? My name is so and so, and I have 45,000 followers. I said, wow, what kind of qualification is this? Oh, yes, I'm so and so and so. I have 230,000, whatever. But come on. Let's have a conversation about whatever. Then maybe we might get to the numbers of, but please, let's that's not who you are. Let's get into who we are. Okay. And the way when you're living like this with cowardice and the only way to correct the situation is to go back to questioning. Once you start questioning, you'll start going up again. So we do have a seminar. We have designed a seminar to help our family to improve themselves. And the thing I love most about Voodoo is that when I asked Aloha, what is the meaning of Voodoo? He says, that's not the meaning of Voodoo that you want to know. You need to know what is the purpose of Voodoo. Voodoo wants the Voodoo V to work hard so each day you are better than the day before. So you must constantly be striving to be better today than you were yesterday. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow, you're not going to say, oh, yeah, it was good yesterday. That's great. Tomorrow, you still have to strive to be better than you were today. And that's once we all into that process of working on ourselves so we can be better the next day, then it makes it easier for people to get along because nobody thinks I'm perfect. I've got it all, That's when problems start. When we start thinking, me, I'm the top of the top. Every day striving to be better than the day before. So we can once we invite, if we want to start questioning. And the first step is to question yourself. Don't question me or Bayyinah, why did you? That's not going to help you.
Correct.
Question yourself. Yeah. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, well, when I was with Dr. Tata, when she asked me this, I responded like that. I had an attitude. That's not good. I need to improve that. Next time, I shouldn't do it that way. Maybe call her and apologize. Those are the sign of somebody who's growing. Mm-hmm. They know each day is an opportunity. You see, we don't have anything in Voodoo that says, well, oh, you did this? That's a sin. You're not going to go to paradise. No. Mm-hmm. I did this. I made a mistake or I behaved wrongly. Hey, I'm going to correct myself and do better tomorrow. That's it. No guilt tripping. No, somebody's going to come out from the sky and do this or that to you. No.
And burn in the fire. Hellfire.
No. You go inside and you make the corrections. Improve yourself. And that's the reason we are not taught to want to harm anyone, because we know the reality of the world. I speak, my word could go around the galaxy, go around the universes, the entire cosmos. Sooner or later, my word comes right back to me.
Great.
So I have to be careful how I speak to everyone. Even my worst enemy, there is a way to speak. And that's why anger is discouraged. Because once you get angry, you have no control what will come out of that mouth. Even the eyes, I could be angry, not speak, but my eyes are sending out this very violent energy. I didn't say anything. I kept myself from saying, but my eyes said something. That's coming back to me too. It could go all over the universe. It's coming back to me. So we have to have self-control. We must. We must train ourselves. The worst enemy can stand up and say and say and say, we don't turn the other cheek. But we might smile at your insults while we go sit down, plan, and plot a proper answer for the right time in the right day. Right then and there, no reaction.
David Wine said Dr. Tata is healing for the eyes. Oh, Bello, you hear your children how they begin to judge me from the eyes, the way you the way you are cleansing me, and David is saying he could see in my eyes. Cheryl is on. It is a marvelous and wonderful time having you here, Prof. When is these sessions that you're talking about? Do we need to register? Do people need to? How often do you do this training? What are the conditions?
Soon we will begin in online. When we do, we will share the information. Okay,
please
but
do.
Right now it's in person that we've been doing it so far, but it will soon be online. We're preparing that.
We can't wait. I mean, you can already understand we're partners, not just partners. I'm on board. I'm your favorite. Anybody has to take his position. I'm sorry. If she's not yours, it's mine. Anyway, now we're trying to pluck all the rest, squeeze every little part of the oil. Yes, that we still have. Everybody has to be a part of this. I'm just so thankful, Prof. Nobody could have treated, not that nobody, but the passion and the way you do this work. I envy at every level, and even us here, everybody's just like, we know our path now to serve, and to serve in the right way is the most noble and humble thing that we could appreciate, even, and look back and say, yes, I did it. But we need these guardians that a lot are really engaged. A lot of people want to reach out. They want to help. They want to support. They want to know how they can push this unity forward. How do I do it? How do I connect? And sometimes we're careful. We're really careful because, like you said, we observe, we listen, we hear around. We really don't know, because sometimes you rush it. You don't know whether you're doing the right thing. So getting experienced teachers, and that could really direct and say, this is the way. I am only here to connect, like the seminars that you'll be doing. I'm only here to tell people, because I'm already a part of it. I have to register also. So I am only, and a lot of people will sit thinking, oh, I need this, how do I do this? So we have the people that actually direct us, our elders, our teachers. That's why we call them our elders, not just because they're elderly in terms of age, but we're talking about experience and knowledge that is clean, so we don't make any mistakes, we don't get confused. Like like Prof just said, not everybody would be that teacher, and we shouldn't be that teacher, all of us. So we listen, and here we're only directing, facilitating. Where do we take what, put what, who has what to offer, and we put it. And so, yes, tomorrow we're going to have his brother, Professor James Small, on the same educational sessions. Now it's really the rite of passation. We've heard about what we need to do to stand up, to defend, to do. We know about all the tactics. We've heard everything. I can imagine how many times Professor is here telling us the same thing, knowledge of herself, and expanding it every step further. So we've heard and learned these things, but then we have to get into the action. I think where we were, we already meditated about that. We asked questions since last year. Now we're in this action plan, and this action plan would be to follow the seminars that he's putting out there for us, to learn this magic of taking action for ourselves, means working on our own self first. If we don't work on ourselves, we won't even build a nation. So we'll just be making the same mistakes. Like you talked about questioning. We had talked about that here. The first thing that, like us in the diaspora, like in Germany, that the children are taught in schools. I mean, I think you also know that principle, is to ask why. So everything at home, when your child starts already interpret, everything, that word is called warum in German, warum. Every little thing you say, don't touch it, he asks you warum. Oh, don't go there, warum. Oh, no. Now you're the warum. I mean, that word is the first word that even when a child opens his mouth, he wouldn't even say mama, he would say warum, right? So, but we see in our own culture, it is kind of a taboo when you question. You're not just asking the question like you said, Prof, because when you ask is because you want to know. So, but us in our culture, particularly when we deal with the elders, you ask, wow, you ask back. How on earth do you even question? So the ideology also, like the mindset on the continent to ask, already put that fear in the young people.
We have to remember, excuse me, we have to remember, we have the tradition prior to colonization and the tradition after colonization. And if we don't make the difference, if we don't identify the difference, then we are, we will make a mistake. But actually, even the loi, spirit, when spirit comes in a ceremony, most Haitians have an attitude, okay, what is it saying? What do you say? What do you want to do? I mean, they don't ask questions, but they just want to hear. Me, I ask, I say, what are you going to say to us this year about blah, blah, blah? And people are like, and you know what the law says? Says, that's exactly, ask the question, ask the question. That's exactly what they want. But the practice that has been in place since colonization and slavery is not to question. But the reality is to question. We must question. See? So I'm pretty sure that the same is true in Africa. That prior to colonization, we had a different, it's like prior, especially I lived this with in Nigeria with the Hausa people. Hausa tradition, not only a parent would never hit a child, a man would never hit a woman. People have that's the tradition is, they would consider you not a man if you hit your wife.
That's true.
Okay. Same, you're not a woman. If you can't explain it to a child how to behave and you have to beat them up, then you're not a mother. You're not a mother.
Correct.
Okay. But today, you find that people hit each other. They hit the children. Even the name, the firstborn, a mother would not pronounce the name of her firstborn. Because you had such respect for the new fragile life that you bring in. Okay? But today, we find all kinds of different ways that are not our ways, but we see them as the tradition because that's what we see. See, it's the same thing. When it was time for, when some of us come to the decision to change our name, we have European names, and we decide to get rid of them, Euro-Christian names, and take an African name. The parents are furious. The grandparents are angry. And they feel, well, this is not a tradition. For the past 4 generations, the firstborn is always named so and so and so. Well, yeah, that is since slavery, since they imposed that name into the family. But what was our name before that? And when I changed my name, the person who was most understanding was my paternal grandmother. I only told her once. My mother would not call me Bayyinah. She would call me, I'm talking to you.
Yes. Yeah,
When
sure. When you only enter the compound and you hear just that sound, oh, you know it.
Yes. When I would not respond when she called the Euro-Christian name, then she called me nothing. You. So that's okay. Ultimately, she did fall in line. But my grandmother, I only had to say it one time. And she said, you know what? Her grandmother, everyone knew her as Martha, but her true name that they carried secretly for 3 or 4 generations was Afiavi. So my grandmother was very happy that I went back to take an African name. I only said it once, and that was that at the end of that. She always called me Bayyinah. And that was the one person I thought, if she objected to it, I just wouldn't say anything. If whatever she calls me, I would respond. But didn't happen. See, so we have to understand there are a lot of things that we call the tradition now, but these are what happened after colonization and slavery. So when we really want to know what the tradition is, we need to do some work, question, research to find out what the real tradition is.
Correct. Thank you so much. I mean, I know it's 2 hours, like you said. Like you said, we never knew that it's 90 minutes. When we have you once in a while like this, yes, it's very humbled, and we thank you so very much. You see everybody saying, oh, I'm just elevated today, what a great day it was. And I think the next step would just not be that we are elevated. This other family that you're seeing, everyone that is watching here is already above that step, that they hear and they listen and they appreciate, because they know what change and what impact it has had on its life and my life as well. So thank you so very much, Professor Bayyinah Bello, for blessing us, for really elevating us, for reminding us, like you said. I think it's a kind of a reminder. We all fell asleep, slept. When we say awakening, it means we're awakening for something that we lose, that we slept on. So this has been really that power, reminding us to go back into ourselves and to pick up those things that we brought with us, that were just being programmed or deprogrammed or not watered, and start watering them. So we thank you so very much. When is your next session? When can we connect? I'm not just talking about the seminars anyway. You still do every Thursday?
Oh, right now we are in season, in between seasons rather. So we'll probably start by end of March, early April. It will be the next one.
And you'll be on YouTube, isn't it?
Yes, on YouTube the sessions will be.
Okay. I will connect with you and inform the family about this, because I mean this is a different kind of a torch that we need, and we will still reach back to you anytime next month or in the days ahead. Every Thursday is our topic, is this particular topic. We call it Baobab. Is anything that really elevates us. On Tuesdays, we're talking about Africa unity topics. On Wednesday, we're talking about art talk, any kind of creativity that we have. Thursday is the Baobab. Friday is more or less about news and information and everything that is breaking. And Saturday is when we really get into ourselves on an action plan on what we want to do. So we get Saturdays, we get communities worldwide, talk about people and people that are really changing in those communities. So we want to thank you, Mom. We'll get back to you.
Wonderful. Thank
And we're
you
sending you
very, very much
blessings.
for having me. Take great
Yes.
care. Remember, breathe consciously, and let's change the world.
Yes. Consciously, it's our duty to change the world. Ashe. Madase. Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good. Wow, wow, wow. What do you want to hear from me again? Do you really still think that I deserve to say anything tonight to you? Do you really think it's what it's like? I would take that taste away and maybe we might mix up everything, right? We want to go to bed with this spirit of everything that we've digested today. I just love this day. It is really a beautiful day. And the topics that we put this Thursday, actually the topics that after we talk about the unity topics, the unification and whatever, whether it's politics, economics, development, on Monday. Then we get into our creativity on Thursday, on Tuesday, we talk about art stock. So it's going to be any kind of creative talent that we have, because that's exactly culture and identity. Tuesdays, like I said, is Africa Unite. I'm already giving you the rundown of the program Tuesday to Saturday, so you know. So when we say Africa Unite, it means we're going to be getting all sort of guests to talk about anything that we need to know about our unity that has been stolen away from us, right? So like next Tuesday, we're going to have Dr. Sila. Dr. Sila is going to educate us on money, currencies that are fluctuating on the continent Africa and Africans. When we say a CFA, and there is also a French CFA, what is the difference? When we talk about the Kenyan shillings or the Tanzanian dollars or what does this actually mean as an impact? Why do we have so many currencies? We're talking about the need for us to have one currency. Like Europeans, they have their dollar, their euros, and the Americans, they have their dollars, right? But we see that we have them in different forms on the continent. So he's really going to break that topic. That is his focus. We've never had an expert on currency and money and what it means and the impact. But this one here is a bone to reckon with. And he's going to stay on this series only on money. So we'll be rotating, like you saw Dr. Marcus Garvis came. He's also on the topics of Africa Unite, bringing the experience of the past through his father and other engagements that we need to do. I hope you guys are signing that petition, justiceforgavi.org. Please, if you haven't, make sure you just go on it, click www.justice4gavi.org, and make sure you sign the petition. We want to reach the number that they want for US to bring the culprit and to make sure that justice is properly delivered on our ancestor Gavi and his legacy. And we're going to do one after the other, right? And you can imagine all this that we'll have to go through. So yes, so this Africa Unite topics every Tuesday is going to bring different speakers from all angles that we want to tackle the issue of unity. Right. So Wednesday is going to be culture and identity, because that's also one of the things that we want to talk about when we're talking about Renaissance. So Wednesday is Renaissance, and under Renaissance, we're talking about, when we say art talk, is about our culture and identity. All those things that make us see ourselves in us, going back to the way we were. What is it that identify us and make us feel comfortable in saying, I am who I am? So that's Wednesday. On Thursday, we have Meyi, as I say today. Meyi just means everything women, or baobab, that we need to know, because it seems most of the time like our brothers or our counterparts, the males, they are advanced because of the system that we put in place. And the woman is still lagging, even though they do a lot of things. This recognition is really not there. So it is for us to pull back our men, and then to be on that level of our women, but also as our women to catch up ourselves. So we're going to have special seminars only working on our own self. Why also the men work on themselves? It is really time for action. It's not time to criticize, oh, you're not doing this, oh, the men are doing us this, oh, the women are Haiti, oh, the women are not responsible, oh, the this, oh, the couples are not doing this. No, we're getting into the era where each person has to work on himself, like Prof just taught us. So even we women, we have a lot to work on ourselves. Questions like, why don't we really just get along? What is it that always come between us? And even our counterparts, our brothers or our kings that always say, women, they can even work together. Put a woman at every position, they keep fighting each other. That's a lie. We do work together. We really do work together. We collaborate together. Some of the men are even using this as an advantage, to even do more confusion among us. And we want to say we have to reflect on each action that we take. We're all sick, we're all broken, we know. But now we have to focus and work on us. So Thursday is going to be this kind of a smooth teaching that takes this gender into consideration, and the weaker ones have to catch up. We're saying it because the face of poverty is a woman. The rapes, the abuse, stealing of our babies, doing everything. The woman has to do everything. At the end of the day, she ends up poor. It's a fact. It's not an argument that it's feminist, like our daughter or princess or queen Chimamanda says it. We should all be feminists, whatever you understand feminism to be. So it just means we should all recognize the fact that even you, the sons and the queens, and the kings, you have a lot to do to work on elevating ourselves. Okay, we can never be complete. You already heard this, the rule. It all takes a collective. And so if one side is too powerful, then the balance is not there. And so how can we lead? How can we even collaborate? How can we understand each other? If you know that you're too strong, and I mean, cue down your power. Don't use it to destroy or to even us women, the really women that, and that's why the men tend to recognize us or they say a strong woman in a negative way. Of course, we're strong. There's nothing about to argue about that. Like she said, raising all this baby, and they say we're multitasking, or we're raising 12, 20, 15. This is this, and you are part of that babies, and raising even ourselves. It's work. And so we need that strong support. But we need to learn all. Because the men, yes, they're really just doing all they can. But maybe because of this ignorance, a lot of things we didn't know. We don't know. We were stolen, remember. So Thursday is this kind of smooth things that massage our brains, make us think. And then when we go back like today, we have to work on ourselves. If you questions, all these things, I put them down. If you were not taking notes, we took all those notes. Learn to know yourself, question everything. Yourself leads you to courage, and courage leads you to speak out. And speak out doesn't mean you must say everything. You can also just be silent. It's still a lot of speaking. I'm just reminding for those that observation means, you notice. And then we go to meditation. Then we go to action. The action for you first, right? Before you teach, you have to first of all work on yourself. And then we go to creation. And that creation demands the collective. So right now we are at action to work on ourselves. And then we do the creation. So that's Thursday. Don't miss out. Never, ever. Fridays, like I said, we're going to be talking about the African eyes. The African eyes means, how does the world perceive us? Like we're talking about, yes, we're living in a global space. But how do we see the world, how they see us? These are all these topics, like something is breaking out there, or CNN is doing this, or this one is doing this, or what are they saying about us? So when we pick out these viral things and break-ins and who is doing what, that's how we're going to break them all on Friday. And Saturday, like I said, is going to be community worldwide. Who's really doing what? Who is that voice out there that needs recognition, needs to be elevated? Who is the Ogun? Who is the Levite? Like she said, yeah. And who has this potential or potentials that can carry the rest of us? So I'll be sending out that flyer on from our programs and topics. And then you see on each topics, we'll be bringing down the different speakers who is going to be the leader in the ship. And you see, now we're getting as well that are watching, right? We're all contributing. Now we having now we're having a really clean structure that we know. Every Tuesday is Africa Unite, Wednesday is culture and identity, Thursday is media and communication, Friday is eagle and seeing what is it that they're doing, what are the community come. Also agree with me that on Sunday we need to pull back, take a breath, like he said, like she said. And one thing that I would like us to be doing at every session is to breathe out, really, in the middle of the conversations or in the beginning. All of us that are already gathered, we just do a 1 minute breathe in, breathe out. She does it on her show each time I'm there. And I think we should also spread this around. Just breathe in, breathe out. We're going to do that exercise each time when we start, and in the middle, maybe also in the end. And then, no, in the middle, we're going to drink water. She hasn't implemented it, but this is our own. So we start, we breathe, and we open the conversation. In the middle, all of us have to drink water, yeah. And then in the in the closing remarks is just the way it is now. So yes, we are doing a very good job, and we are so thankful for ourselves. I'm so thankful for you. You are so thankful for me, and that's the collective. I belong to you, you belong to me, and we form that collective. Nobody is going to leave another behind. We are never going to be that future that will be saying, oh, you see, our men are doing this. If we see that they're doing something that we think is not correct, it is our role to call them to order. Not just the women, also the other brothers. So you see, we have to learn everything again like children. It doesn't matter, but we are on the right track. At least we're even getting our minds back to learn. So we have to empower, enrich one another, strengthen one another without going to laugh around them. Wear the crown of your queens without telling about their stories that they confide in us, right? So yes, we're going to go together as a collective. That's the Africa that we want. It's not going to be, oh, gender this comes to this class, oh, this one is this, oh, this is feminine, oh, this is masculinity. This is our past. We all have been there. Is going to be the African eyes. And so she wants to talk about the conflicts also in the Mali and what we've been seeing through just a general overview of the African eyes. That is Friday, tomorrow. And Saturday, we're going to look at the community project. I don't really know which one. Maybe, I don't know, Guinea. It's been long that we've not touched West Papua Guinea, so we can get access to that community to find out. They've been doing a lot ever since they came on the show twice. We saw the delegation going everywhere. And I think their movement is really going. They might get their freedom and their country for themselves. There should be no doubt about that. But we want to touch base with them to find out what is going out there in West Papua Guinea or West Guinea Papua or whatever as they call it. Are they still enslaved? Are they still being chained? Are they still using snakes to guard them out there? These are our people everywhere. Not just only our people, these are humans. And we're talking about humanity first. Yes. Okay. So I think time to drink water and time to say Madase tuko pamoja, time to say Miyaka, time to say Beriwo. And thank you so very much. Wish you a good night, and we see ourselves with Professor James Moore on African Eyes tomorrow. Okay. Good night to all of you. Bye-bye.
After centuries of misguidance caused by slavery, colonization, lack of awareness of our history, and institutional disinformation, a new Africa is on the move, determined and getting organized. Afrika tuko pamoja. Welcome to the United Kingdoms of Great Africa. The United Kingdoms of Great Africa is the credo of the alliance movement of all African intelligences around a common ideal, the unity and development of a strong, conquering, and completely dedogmatized Africa through the channel of a strong organization called the Africa We Want Global. You are an African, Afro-descendant, researcher, historian, scientist, or simply an NGO. You want to be part of this great historical march towards the total freedom of an uninhibited Africa? Visit our website www.africawewantglobal.org. Register and discover the range of our platforms for change. AfricaWeWantGlobal.org Join the kingdom, be part of it. An initiative of Dr. Susan Tata.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.